Hi, Matt with eTrailer. Today we're going to be talking about the Yakima baseline with JetStream Crossbars on our 2021 Chevrolet Trailblazer. Now this is going to be a great fit for you if you're looking for something that's going to be able to help you get more stuff on top of your vehicle, because maybe you might not be able to fit everything that you need, or you have larger items like kayaks. Today our system is going to be comprised of 3 parts. We're going to have our crossbars, we're going to have our towers, and then we're going to have our fit kit. Let's take a look at each one of those. Now these are going to be 50-inch crossbars, and these JetStream bars are going to have this aero design to them. So they're going to be thicker in the front and thinner in the back, making them more aerodynamic, reducing that wind noise. Something else that's going to help reduce that wind noise are the weather strips on them. We're going to have this one on top that's built in, and that's going to be for any of your T-Track accessories. And what I do like about it, since it is built in, you don't have to worry about cutting it down the size, and it can hold any of those T-Track accessories too. And we're going to have one on the bottom. Now that one's not going to be built in. You'll just have to cut that one down the size so it fits perfectly around your crossbars. But that'll also help reduce wind noise. And our baseline towers are going to have this end cap at the back of it, and it'll hide all of our hardware that bolts everything down into place and grabs onto our fit kit that attaches to your roof. Now one thing I will say about the end cap is, if you notice, we have this plastic core here. You can actually get this replaced to put on some metal locking cores so it locks into place and you don't have to worry about anyone unlocking it and taking it off. And one thing I do like about those lock cores, you can get them key to like with any of your other Yakima accessories too. And that fit kit's going to have this plastic base that grabs onto your tower, and underneath it, it's going to have this rubber that really just grabs onto the side of our roof. And then we're going to have this clamp that reaches around and grabs onto the outside of our car. It's going to have this rubber coating underneath it so it doesn't scratch anything up. Now for how they're going to sit on top of our roof, these are going to be 50-inch crossbars, so they're not going to exceed the width of your vehicle, but they're not going to be too wide where when you're getting in, you're not going to bump your head on it. The exact measurement of where it sits away from our tower is going to be 3 1/4 inch. So you might have enough room to get a smaller clamped on accessory on the side of it, but you might have to play around with it a bit. As for how it's going to sit in the center of your roof, if I measure from the bottom of our crossbar to the top of the roof, that's going to sit at 3 1/2 inches. So that'll give you still plenty of room to put your clamp on accessories in the center. And then from the top of a roof to the top of the crossbar, that's going to sit at 4 1/2 inches. So that's something to keep in mind so you know what areas you can make clearance under. So what I recommend doing is taking the total height of your car and the total height of your crossbars and adding that up to let you know what you can make it under. And if you get any accessories on it too, make sure you include that measurement as well. As far as what accessories they can accommodate, like I said earlier, you can put on any clamp-on accessories, especially since you have 3 1/2 inches to play around with. And you're going to be able to put any T-Track accessories on top of here too. Overall, this is going to be a great option for the Trailblazer, especially if you're kind of cramped for space in the back, whether you have a lot of stuff, or you just have larger items that you can't fit in there, like a kayak or anything that's really long too. Now, I also like how it's going to fit on top. It's going to be able to accommodate the curvature that we have in the front and still stay level. And the design too is also going to be very nice and sleek. As far as the installation goes, it is a little bit tedious since you're going to have to make a lot of adjustments, putting your tires in the correct spots and trimming some things down and making all the adjustments in there. Now after that, it's still going to be a little bit of a process if you are taking it on and off. It might add about 15 to 20 minutes extras just to get them back on here. But it's going to be great if you do need to take a lot of trips. But if you still need help with it, just stay tuned. I'll show you how to do it. All right, to start off with installation, I just like to lay everything out. So on the front, we're going to have our 50-inch Yakima JetStream Crossbars. We're going to have our towers. And on the other side, we're going to have our base and our fit kits, along with our clamps. You're going to have an included tool, this Allen key with this built-in torque device, and you're going to have this measuring tape. Now what I'd recommend is grabbing either a pair of scissors or utility knife to help cut things down the size. But let's start with prepping everything up. Now the first thing we're going to do is grab our HD bar adapter, and that's going to come with your crossbars. Now we're just going to remove this back end cap just by squeezing on either side and pulling it out, and then pulling this security tab until it clicks. Now we can just rest this adapter on top, making sure this plastic piece goes all the way in and clicks into place. Just like that. And maintaining control of the bolt. Line up that hole with the bolt underneath and screw it in just slightly, just enough to make contact. We want to leave a gap between this metal block and this plastic so it can go on our crossbars. And with both towers set up, we're going to come over to our crossbars, make sure it's upside down. You can tell because it's going to have this ruler on the bottom and this other weather strip that you can actually pull out. That's actually what we're going to do now, so we can put our towers on. You're going to want to keep a hand on this so you don't lose it, because we're going to put it back in afterwards. And now you can put your towers on. And how you do that is just by lining this bolt or block up with this channel. Just like this. And just slide it on slightly. Kind of put it on there roughly, and then we can make our adjustments later. And now I'm going to put this other side on. And now we're going to find our M1 measurement. And that's going to be the distance between our two towers on our crossbar. And that's going to be, for us, 36 5/8. And once you have it down in this location, I just recommend tightening it down just slightly, tightening this bolt closest to us. And now the next step is going to be adjusting our pitch. And that's going to be putting this bolt in here to one of these three locations. And we're going to want to put it on the alpha location. And something to note, we want to make sure our bar is in the right orientation. So a quick way to make sure it is making sure that this arrow right in the center of your crossbar is facing away from you and facing forward. So now that we've established that, we just want to apply pressure and move this over to where this bolt sits on that third line or close to it. And when it does, tighten this down the rest of the way. Now we're just going to grab our bases, and we're going to find this channel that's built in here and line it up with this portion here. We want to make sure that this indentation is facing out and away from the interior of the bars, and once it is, we can apply pressure until it clicks into place. And once it clicks into place, you repeat that process on the other side. And we're going to have this front bolt. And what we want to do is loosen this up some. And that's going to give us the ability to adjust this toe. And a good way to do that is just to apply pressure to either side on your base and put it where it needs to be. In our case, we want it to be on the one location, and make sure your crossbars are still in the right orientation with that arrow facing away from you. And once you've adjusted for that, now we can tighten this down all the way and do the same thing on the other side. Now we're going to do two things before we put our crossbars on the top of our car. First, we're going to just verify to make sure our distance between our two towers are accurate, because sometimes when you are adjusting things, they can shift. And after when you do that, we can take our M2 measurement, and that's going to be 8 inches in our case. And that's going to be from the front of our windshield to where our tower is going to sit. And then you can get one of your stickers that comes with your kit and kind of mark where this is going to sit. Now to start off, when we are putting it on there, we want to make sure this is in the right orientation. So we want to make sure that this fatter side is facing forward and this thinner side is facing behind us. After when you've done that, we can kind of put it up here roughly, putting it where you made your marks, and setting it down. And then you can go to the other side and make sure everything looks good. And if you notice here, we're going to be a little bit off, just about 1 inch. So what we're going to have to do is just take it off, make some adjustments, moving our towers on both sides, and making sure that overhang is even on both sides too. And now that we've made our adjustments, we're sitting at 37 5/8 of an inch on either side. Now also make sure that your pitch is still set to A, and once you've done that, you can put it back on your roof. And when we have it up here, we're going to just open this door. This is going to be your access door. And we're going to slide this clamp, and this is going to be your B94 clamp. You'll use a different one for the rear crossbar. And you're going to slide it through this channel underneath your drive bolt. And that drive bolt's going to have a hook underneath it. And it's going to grab onto it and grab it just like that. And from this point, we're going to make our adjustments, starting with our swing bolt, which is going to be this one right here. Just tightening it down until it makes contact with the side of our car. And once it's just touching, just slightly, then we can start tightening down our drive bolt until it's all the way flush with that gutter. And once it's tight like this, then don't tighten it down all the way. Go to the other side and repeat that process. And then after that, you'll just tighten each side, alternating so you don't tighten one side more than the other. And then you'll keep tightening it until you hear your clicks, just like that. And then you can close your access door. And if you haven't already, you can close this safety tab at the top. Now we can put it on our weather strip. I forgot to put in ours, so I'm going to put it in now. So what I'm going to do is take what the tower distance was and add just a little bit to that. So that's going to be about 38 inches. So it sits underneath the towers just slightly. And then I'm going to cut it down the size with our scissors. And what I like to do at this point is just push part of it in. And once you get it started, you can just slide it across. And after that, I like to put the remaining of that weather strip in there out of the way. And I'm just going to pull it out just slightly. And there's going to be this indentation. And that's going to let you know where our end caps are going to sit on our crossbars. So we're just going to cut it right there. And now we should be good. Now you can repeat that same process on the other side. And now one of our last steps is just putting on our end caps. Just lining everything up and pushing down till it clicks into place. Just like that. And doing the same thing with your crossbar end cap. The next thing you're going to want to do is find that measurement from your front crossbar to your rear crossbar, going from the front of the front one and the front of the rear one, and that's going to be 32 inches. And it's going to use the same process as the front one, only we're going to have a different measurements for some of the things, like the distance from our towers are going to be 35.5 inches, and then your tone pitch is going to be set to 2 and B. And one of the last steps I like to do is just give it a shake test, make sure everything's secured and isn't going to move. And then when it seems that way, then you can load up any type of gear or accessories you have. But that was just a look at the Yakima Roof Rack system on a 2021 Chevrolet Trailblazer.